A little over a year ago, I had this crazy idea. But in the nature of what this channel has always been, I said, screw it, let's see what happens. And what ended up happening was I found something I really enjoy doing, you all seem to enjoy watching, and it awakened a brand new passion in me and reinvigorated my love for making content. And of course, I'm talking about streaming exclusively on YouTube. Alright, obviously it's actually making cocktails. You saw the title of the video. If you've seen any video on the channel in the past year, you probably already know that. And I do really mean that this has awakened a deep passion in me. I really enjoy doing this, and I really hope you all are enjoying me doing it, because I don't see myself going back anytime soon, if I'm being honest. This is just too fun. At the time of recording, I am currently working on probably my biggest video idea yet. I am doing research for it. I'm working very hard. I've made up a fake cocktail math just for this one video, and a little teaser for you. You might see me in the Gallagher outfit again. But with that in the future, I thought this would be a good moment to look back at the past. Because over the course of the last year, I learned a lot, made a lot, and most importantly, drank a lot. And I thought it'd be fun to look back and decide what are the top 5 drinks that I've made so far. Now let's set up some guidelines first, because if we don't, we all know this list would have just been 5 bourbon drinks. There's not really a punchline there, that's just what would have happened. And so to make this list actually useful to most people, I picked my personal favorite recipes featuring each of the 5 big main base spirits: gin, vodka, tequila, rum, and bourbon/whiskey. And I've done so using the brand new SteveSekai cocktail guide. This is a brand new reward for members that is a neatly organized document featuring all of the recipes that I have come up with, both on the channel and off of the channel. And everything is broken up by themes of the video, so if you wanted to revisit a Hollow Stars cocktail or a Star Rail cocktail, you can just jump straight to that page. But you can also search it by ingredients or what cocktails inspired them. So if you want something like an old fashioned, or you want something like a margarita, just type that in and you can jump straight to them. Every recipe has ingredients listed, instructions on how to make it, and even notes on some of them if there was something I felt like I needed to clarify or correct. And if you want to get into mixing drinks and for some ungodly reason are using me as your role model, there's also beginner-friendly definitions and instructions. I'm working on updating it constantly with both that stuff, and it will have all of the new recipes in the future. So hey, if any of that sounds useful to you, or you just want an easier way to find and remake some of the drinks that I've made on the channel, then please consider becoming a member so that you can get access to that. And hey, if you can't be a member right now, that's fine. Just liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing, doing all of the YouTube things are all very helpful and very much appreciated. So thank you so much for doing those too. And now I promise this is the last thing. Seeing how this is kind of a year in review video, I'm gonna say what my favorite drink is, say a couple things, but then we're gonna jump back to the past. You'll watch the clip of the old video where I make it and talk about it. And if you are interested in seeing the full video that each of them comes from, they will be up here in the cards or down below in the description. And without any further ado, let's get to the list. Now this is going to be kind of in a loose order. If you really set all 5 of these in front of me again and I tasted them back to back, some of them might change around a little bit. The bourbon/whiskey one would probably still be number 1, so that will be last. I'm just going to warn you right now. But we are going to start off with gin. Gin is the spirit that I am, we'll say, the least excited by. It's not that I don't like gin. I honestly can't think of a gin drink that I've had on the channel that was bad. It's just that when I think about making a cocktail, this is the last place my mind really wants to go. I'm not huge on the refreshing, botanical, really crisp flavor. It's not really my thing, and it also doesn't help that, I'll be honest, a lot of the gin cocktails I've made have not been that exciting. The Regis Altair and the Bardic Breeze are very simple, and also several of the gin drinks that I remember enjoying were also split base, like the Nitro Fuel Cheesetopia edition was gin and bourbon. I will give an honorable mention to the Hime Hajime, aka Dragon's Gin, from the first Vishojo cocktail video. Yes, it was just gin and blood orange ginger beer, so another really simple one, but it was really, really good. That said, my pick for the number 1 gin cocktail I've made is the Utsugi Uyu, aka the Beautiful Thief. That drink is just so good, so refreshing, so wonderfully sweet. Sprite and rhubarb was already something that I really enjoyed. Adding gin to it just cut it in a nice way to make it a good summer drink, and then putting ice cream on it, I mean, come on. Please do keep this drink in mind if you're having a barbecue or a roof party or a garden party. Whatever it is you're doing outside in the summer, you're really gonna wanna have this recipe on deck. And in my head, the drink for Uyu went through the most changes, it went through the most adaptations as I was trying to think of different things to do, and I think this is gonna be pretty gosh darn good. I know that the first part of the drink is very good. It's the finishing touch that I think will be good. I have not done it yet, and we're gonna find out together. This is another remarkably simple, easy drink to make. The difficulty honestly comes in some of the ingredients, depending on where you live, might be hard to come by. I'm sorry. But first we are going to start with 2 ounces of Butterfly Pea Blossom Gin, and then simply top it with some Sprite. We're gonna wanna leave a little bit of room. And that there gives that color that I feel like is pretty present in Uyu's design. This like very faded purple. This also isn't necessarily a Joe's Crab Shack glass drink. I know we've established that as a kind of thing here, but this was the glass that I had clean, so it's also the only glass I have that's big enough to do what we're gonna do. That nice faded purple, if you have Empress 1908 or fill it with a little more Sprite, either way, it does turn more into the gray that I would have wanted, the kind of like very, very faded notes of purple. But, alas, that is just a beautiful color. And then we're going to add 2 dashes of rhubarb bitters. Veterans of the channel should know how I feel about rhubarb bitters. They are freaking delicious. If you want a good mocktail and you do count bitters as alcohol-free, rhubarb bitters and Sprite are killer. It is so good. And so is this. Just adding a bit of gin to that, I mean, oh, that is a calming drink. That is taking everything that the last 2 have done to me and just bringing it all down here. That is relaxing. That is springtime. That is not brunch, but tea time. Having it like out in a garden would be perfect. And honestly, that kind of fits Uyu's aesthetic. I could see him drinking this out in a garden. The rhubarb and the Sprite and the gin all play off of each other perfectly there. It's hard to describe because if you don't know what rhubarb tastes like, that's already a hard thing to describe. It's like thicker cherry, if that makes sense. Cherry with 2 C's, basically. The gin I already described, it's pretty much a gin flavor, but with just a bit more sweetness to it. And then you should know what Sprite tastes like. So rhubarb and Sprite together already make a very nice, sweet kind of drink. Almost akin to a Shirley Temple. I wouldn't call it identical. And then the gin just keeps it all chill, just keeps it cool. It cuts through so much of the sweetness from the Sprite that you're left with just something very refreshing. It's really delicious. But the drink's not done yet. Here comes the part that I don't know if it's gonna be good. You see, Uyu has a couple of other colors in his design. Yeah. Initially, I wanted just normal cotton candy. I don't know what I was gonna do with that, but I wanted just normal cotton candy, and I couldn't find any. So we're gonna use cotton candy ice cream and turn this into a float. Really make this a summertime, springtime drink. We're gonna top that with a scoop of cotton candy. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I just realized I wasn't recording that whole thing. Thankfully, it was a very easy drink, and I don't think it was really that necessary, but sorry. Yeah, it's just really good. God damn it. Well, there's now gonna just be a wet spot on my hoodie for the rest of the video. At least it was the last drink that I did that on. I mean, yeah, I don't know why I didn't think that wasn't gonna work with the cotton candy. That's delicious. I need a spoon. We're gonna use my bar spoon. I mean, that is so good. Everything I said about the first bit, but now there's just cotton candy ice cream in it. That's pretty much it. The sweetness factor is kicked up a good amount. And I forgot to mention that the cotton candy is meant to be the sweet side of Uyu that you see, and then the drink itself is the cool Phantom Thief, that refreshing flavor giving that kind of cool vibe. I'm just eating ice cream now, man. And then the cotton candy on top is, wow, look at this. It's making progress down that drink. I mean, that's just delicious. I wish I could do a better job describing it, but I mean, it really is. It's cotton candy ice cream, Sprite, rhubarb, and gin. There's nothing that insightful to say about it outside of really tasty. The cotton candy is, I mean, the fact that I've just been eating it should show you exactly how I feel about it. Alright, I need to stop. I need to stop doing that. Up next, we're gonna do tequila and also mezcal, because there's quite a few mezcal recipes in here, actually. I've really come to love the tequila and mezcal family more and more over the past year. A classic dry margarita is easily one of my favorite cocktails. And so when it came to picking the best one, it was hard. Given what I said about margaritas, obviously an honorable mention has to go to Death's Margarita for Calliope Mori. That one's really good. The red wine is great. An honorable mention also has to go to the Boot Hill and the Red Dragon, both being based on the Mexican Firing Squad. They are wonderful showcases of what a smoky mezcal can do in a sweet drink. I love both of them. But the top tequila drink has to go to the one that I have seen easily the most commenters say that they've made, the Imagined Sunrise. It is very simple, it is very easy to make. That is partially why it's so low down on the list. It's not that it's not fantastic, I just don't think it's as inventive as some of the stuff later on. But this is one that I can recommend anyone make because it is very widely appealing. It doesn't require any special tools. And you've probably already seen it because it's from my most viewed video. But regardless, let's take a look back at this wonderful treat from the Dream Jolt Hostelry, the Imagined Sunrise. Let's make an imagined sunset, aka a tequila sunrise. There's an imagined sunrise, hold on. Yeah, that's a tequila sunrise. Right at the bottom, orange in the middle. We might be able to do some champagne. That's what's making the top white. We might be able to do that. So in game, this uses rejuvenating soda water, odd concoction, and then you stir, and then you add Dream Jam and Stellar Champagne on top. So I think the champagne is actually our... Actually, maybe we'll just throw champagne on top just to ruin the drink at the end. Why not? This is our rejuvenating soda water. This is gold tequila. Orange juice is our Dream Jam. Odd concoction is going to be the grenadine. So, first we need ice. We don't actually need to mix this one, which is fun. We just need to pour it in. So we're going to go ahead and start with 2 ounces of gold tequila and 4 ounces of orange juice. Well, that was just orange juice. Next up, this is the delicate part. This is the part that makes it look the way it does in the game and how this is supposed to. So let's hope I don't fuck it up. We're going to pour the grenadine over the back of this spoon, and it should sink all to the bottom and create a nice cool layered effect. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, that looks right. Do we put champagne on top? What could that do to it? It's still carbonated, that's the good news. Woo! Let's follow the game's instructions on the end here. This is a real drink right now, so you can stop here. But we're doing Honkai Star Rail justice today. I'll very carefully pour this onto the top. Well, that looks right. That looks absolutely perfect. And just to throw in a little garnish, orange and a cherry. Now it looks like the sun peeking out. And with that, we have successfully created the Imagined Sunrise. Once I started messing with the orange, it did mix the champagne a little more in, but you saw it. You saw it was layered right. It looked right for a minute there. Let's see if it just tastes good. Yeah, actually. That makes total sense. I mean, orange juice and champagne is a mimosa. So it's kind of like you've just combined a mimosa and a tequila sunrise. Damn, it's actually really good. It's just a good ass drink. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't know how much credit I can really take for this one, because it is just a tequila sunrise that I put champagne on top of, which was the game's idea to begin with. Wow, that absolutely worked. That's weird. It's so fun. Every sip, you're getting a different flavor. Oh my god, it's everything. Because the champagne is at the top, so it's like hitting first, but then it turns into a mimosa, but then you get the tequila. It's like a mimosa, but with what I lovingly call that tequila stank. I love tequila. I've come to really enjoy tequila, but it's got that stank to it, you know? And you know, when you want that tequila stank, you want it. You want that stank. And that's what that tastes like. Oh my god. I'm drinking that too fast. Ooh, that is a good beverage that I will probably continue to make. So far, this is the winner in both appearance and flavor. Dream Jolt Hostelry, you made a good drink with that one. I would drink several of these. You would have to have someone carry me out. Mr. Bigwig. That's the one name I remember, because look at Mr. Bigwig. Look at Mr. Bigwig. I love him. Oh, I'm getting more into the stank. The champagne is running out and we're getting into the tequila. That drink changes. That's crazy. The more I drink,
the more there is to discover. And I haven't even hit the grenadine, really. So it's way at the bottom. I'm so excited about this drink. Wow. So the mimosa flavor has milded out a lot. And now it's just kind of becoming... No, it hasn't. I'm lying. The orange juice and the champagne have mixed together more. So it's less champagne into orange and more... Now it's just like a mimosa at the top, and then the tequila slides inside. That's a horrible way to have phrased that. It's too late, I've said it. I'm gonna end up drinking this whole thing in like 5 minutes. This is so good. I'm so happy I made that. I'm genuinely so happy I made that. That's really, really good. If you make anything in this video, it should be this one.
All right, number 3 on our list is going to be rum. I love rum. I love a good rum funk. I love a good spiced rum. I love a good white rum. It's got a wonderful history to it. It's hard to go wrong with rum. And as such, rum has had some of my favorite drinks. I will give a special shout out to the rum drinks in both of my D&D videos. They are very good, but they are not in my cocktail guide because I did not make them. They are in real recipe books that you should go buy. But what are in my cocktail guide are 3 different dark and stormy recipes. If that doesn't show you how much I'd recommend a dark and stormy, I don't know what will. I also want to give a shout out to the Natlin Paloma and the Amayoko water. Still don't know if I'm saying that right. From the Genshin Natlin video. I think those are both really tasty too, but like the dark and stormies, I think they're a little too simple for us to count it as the best rum drink that I've made. So I'm gonna have to give that award to the Black Swan. That drink is almost indescribable. As you're about to see, it is less a cocktail and more of an experience. It is an entire lived life in a glass. I received several comments from people saying that they also tried it and loved it. It's honestly really hard to say anything more about it. I'm just gonna have to let this clip speak for itself.
This take is really inspired by How to Drink's video on Old Fashions, where he kind of breaks down the formula of what makes an old fashioned, which basically boils down to 2 parts of a strong liquor, half to a quarter part of something sweet, some bitters, and some citrus. And so from there, we have to start thinking about what makes this the Black Swan. Well, the easiest answer is to use something that already says black on it, black rum. So let's go ahead and throw a rock in there. And like we already said, we're following the basic recipe of an old fashioned, just with none of the typical parts of one. So we're gonna start with 2 ounces of our black rum. So when coming up with this idea and trying to figure out what would come next, what our sweet component would be, I smelled our black rum, I gave it a little taste, and I was instantly reminded of something. That funk reminded me of one very particular flavor. And it honestly was just kind of a coincidence that it also had black in the name. Yeah, the funkiness from that rum reminded me quite a bit of our coffee liqueur, Mr. Black. So we're gonna go for half an ounce of that coffee liqueur. So there's our strong, our sweet, now we just need the bitters. And as we've discussed in other videos, coffee is a flavor cousin to chocolate. So we're gonna throw in the typical 2 dashes of this Aztec chocolate bitters. And for the citrus, we're not doing anything too crazy. We're just gonna stick with an orange peel. Give it a stir. Ideally, you would have stirred it before the orange peel, but I forgot. So, and there you have a Black Swan. This wow. Oh, that is exactly as weird as I remember. Oh, I love this drink. That tastes like nostalgia. That tastes like you've lived through every phase of your life. I'm gonna warn you, this is about to be the weirdest tasting notes I've ever given. It starts sweet and citrusy, but then moves into almost a cherry cola pop cap. Not pop cap, I've made this mistake before. They made Peggle. Bottle cap. It's either the cola or the cherry cola bottle cap flavor. And I'm back in my hometown as a kid. It's summer. I'm out on the street playing with the other kids in the neighborhood. We got candy and we're enjoying it. Riding our bikes. And then it moves into a hotel breakfast. I'm sitting in the hotel dining room, waiting for my turn to use the waffle maker. The smell of coffee is in the air. I've tried a little sip because I'm still a little too young to enjoy it. And as much as I didn't like it then, There was something oddly alluring about it. There's something adult about that feeling of coffee that you can't quite escape as a child. And then it rounds out into a cocktail. That flavor of sitting at the bar, having yourself a little after-work treat. Now I'm in a recliner. I've come to love the taste of coffee. Well, I'm not even sure if I love it, I just know that I enjoy having it every morning. This is what mentally marks the start of my day. And so I can't really have a morning without it. And at the very end, we're back to the cherry cola. Somebody handed me a bottle cap, and even in my old age, it takes me right back to being a kid. Being out on the street, hanging out with the neighborhood kids, riding our bikes that summer. That's a life experience in a glass. I don't know how else to describe it to you. If you want real flavors, I guess you can say that cherry cola bottle cap, coffee, Tootsie Roll for a second, that kind of orangey chocolate from Tootsie Roll, back into the cherry cola. But to do that feels almost wrong. Yeah, that's what I'm tasting. That's not how I feel when I drink this. And I think it does a disservice to the Black Swan to try and boil down experience into such base components. It's about living and experiencing each moment and trying to solidify them in your mind. Is that a little pretentious? Probably. But to be quite frank with you, that's the way this drink makes me feel. As much as I love piecing apart every other cocktail I've made, from the very first moment I tasted this, that is the most prevalent thought that entered my mind. This is a drink best experienced, not tasted. It left me speechless then, and in many senses it's leaving me that way again. It is the taste of nostalgia from every phase of your life, even those you've never lived. It is getting to taste all the comfort that has been and that will be. That is the Black Swan. That is a memo keeper in a glass. I have no other words for it outside of it's good.
Now, because I already told you bourbon is last, by process of elimination, you should have figured out that our next spirit is vodka. Now, vodka being next might be a bit of a surprise to some people. It was certainly a surprise to me, because honestly, there's not a ton of vodka drinks in here, and the idea of vodka is for it to kind of get lost into the drinks. If I'm being honest, a lot of the vodka drinks I've made probably would rank lower on my list, because they were really early on when I didn't want to taste a lot of liquor, so it's really sweet stuff like the Gavis Betel, or it was things like the Shiori Novella and the Metropolitan Rome, which were basically just an espresso martini or a cosmopolitan respectively, with one or two things added or changed. Nothing really revolutionary, and thus hard for me to say is my favorite. Until my last video, in which I made something so delicious, loved by so many of my coworkers, that it is going on to the summer cocktail list at my job. It is the Project Melody, aka the Hentai Martini. That's right, this drink is just, it's just good. It's just really, really good. It's hard for me to say anything new about it right now because I did record that video 2 weeks ago, so it's pretty fresh on my mind. So I'm just gonna let past me take over. Also language warning, because I did cuss a lot in that video. Now this next drink is for Project Melody, and I'll be honest, what I had to do a riff on was about as obvious as the GMMF, because there is a drink called the Adult Film Star Martini. I don't know if YouTube would like the P word. You know the P word I'm talking about. We all watch it. We all know what that is. Anyways, yeah, that was obvious. I had to do that. And so we're gonna do that, and it's a very good drink. This is a drink that I actually made at work to test, and just about everybody there loved it. So you don't have to take just my word for it. I'm not just some crazy man in a basement. There are other people who have had this who did enjoy it, and they will attest to it. You'll probably never see these people or hear their words, but if you can believe me, you should. I'm getting all sticky from the triple sec that was all over this bar mat. That's fitting though, getting sticky for this one. No? Is that too much? Was that one too much? I don't know. Also, my sweater, it's very obvious when it gets wet at all, so ignore that. I went ahead and threw some ice into my shaker, and we're gonna start with 2 ounces of vanilla vodka, followed by half an ounce of lime juice. And here's where we start deferring from our inspiration. In a star martini, you are going to be using passion fruit liqueur and passion fruit puree. Get it? Passion fruit. That's the joke, I think. I don't actually know. I haven't researched it that much. But instead, because we want different colors, we are going to do half an ounce of hibiscus syrup and half an ounce of a blackberry puree. I stole these from work. That's why they're in these, and I don't have actual bottles of them. Hey, I'm just being economical, okay? We're gonna go ahead and shake all that. Oh, why did I do that? Whoa, extra a lot of flavor. We're gonna strain that into our martini glass and then top it with a float of... Oh, I thought it was gonna explode off. That's what she said. Hey! Okay. There were other reasons I thought I shouldn't record tonight, and they were all wrong, but I was right. We are going to top it with a float of sparkling wine. Interesting that it has a twist top, though. That's kind of cool. I'll give them that. La Marca Prosecco. And that is our Project Melody, aka the Hentai Martini. Oh my god. Oh my god. That is so fucking good. Oh, fuck me. That is so delicious. Where to start? Everything. Everything is where to start. That's the issue. It is... I don't want to say gosh darn near perfect. That's kind of an insane thing to say. But right now, after the amount of sugar I just had, it kind of feels that way. Now, the blackberry and hibiscus were 2 flavors that I already knew went well together because we have a drink at work that has both of those in it. That's why I stole them from work. But putting them with the vanilla vodka sweetens it up in a really, really nice way that makes this as approachable of a sweet drink as, you know, something like a GMMF. This is something you could hand to someone who isn't a huge drinker, or someone who really likes sweet drinks, and they will still very much enjoy it. It's very approachable. But the depth in the hibiscus and in the blackberry that pull it down make it a refreshing and interesting enough flavor profile for someone who is a much more experienced drinker or who doesn't love a lot of sweet drinks. The 3 really do just kind of cycle one over the other, inform one another into, I mean, shit, it tastes like a pie. It tastes like you're eating some kind of pie or some kind of tart dessert in the summertime. I know I keep saying this, but I'm going to quote a coworker so that I don't sound like I'm repeating myself. She said this is the kind of drink she could have over and over while sitting out on her patio. Then you stand up and you're hot drunk. You know, when it's too hot outside and you don't realize how drunk you are until you've stood up, and then you're like 10 times drunker than you should be because it's hot out. This will make you that drunk because it is way too easy to drink. It is really that good. And that being said, ooh, the lime, it's right at the start. The lime is right at the start. It's not enough to overpower or throw the rest off. It is just a very bright opening point that lets you ease into everything else. It's this flash of light before you relax into the sunset of nighttime that is the blackberry and the hibiscus. These very rich and dark and round flavors. And the Prosecco. The Prosecco is actually really pretty important. We tried it without the Prosecco first, and it is a night and day difference. It's a lot better with the Prosecco, or, you know, whatever sparkling wine you want. I'm not gonna tell you to buy specifically Prosecco. I don't know my sparkling wines well enough to tell you if there's even really that big of a difference. It's good without, it's incredible with. It provides this earthy note that grounds everything else. It keeps everything else from being able to run away into being too sweet or too dark or too rich or too bold. It's this root that holds everything together and holds it down on the ground and lets you relax with it. That is a flavor that I can imagine working all year round. If it's fall or winter, it's got a lot of those rich, dark, fruity flavors you want, like cranberry or rhubarb, that make you feel at home and comfy and cozy. If it's the spring or summer, it's got this very sweet and refreshing flavor to it that makes you feel like you could sit outside all day with a huge pitcher of it and never get tired of drinking it. Just like hentai, this drink is art. Last and very obviously not least, the bourbon and whiskey category. Probably obviously, there's gonna be a lot of honorable mentions in this one. It's hard for me to think of a bourbon or whiskey drink that wouldn't be an honorable mention here. Genuinely, this one was very, very hard to pick. Obviously, all of the old fashions are going to be up there. The Fuamoko using cotton candy, it's not nearly as sweet as you expect because cotton candy is so airy, you're really not getting that much sugar in there. It also kind of makes it smoky. Really love that one. The Gallagher, aka Soul Glad, was really good. Making an old-fashioned flavored soda was a really fun challenge that I enjoyed. The two horse feathers, the Narissa Ravencroft and the Enos, God, do I love those drinks. They are both incredibly tasty, very easy to make. Highly recommend that to anyone. What else? Oh my god, I'm gonna have to look this up. I'm gonna have to double check. I don't want to miss anything. Oh, the Takanashi Kiara, the Kentucky Phoenix. You'd think creme de banana with bourbon would not go well. But when it's Old Forester, which I think already tastes like bananas, it's like a bourbon tiki drink. It's just delicious. Oh, and the Billy Kid is also about to be on the cocktail list at my restaurant. If we are counting Fireball, all of the versions of the Firefly are also really delicious. Highly recommend those. And it has a mocktail version where you're really not missing much. I forgot to mention this one in the rum one. The Bang Boo also has Fireball in it. That's why it came up here. The Bang Boo is something that I still come back to. I know you probably don't believe me, but I really, really think you should. Melon and cinnamon is just a flavor combo that works. I made what turned out to be another version of a Bang Boo last night using a spiced rum, the Midori, some lime juice, some simple, and a dash of cinnamon bitters. It just works. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry that I'm bringing this up in the bourbon section. Please, melon and cinnamon, it just works. I promise you, it just works. And of course, I could cheat and say that my favorite bourbon/whiskey cocktail is the SteveSekai, a drink I made and named after myself because it is my perfect cocktail. It is an old-fashioned that effortlessly and seamlessly transitions all the way from creamsicle to cinnamon, my two favorite flavors, without ever a break or moment of disharmony in between. But that one's not in a video yet, so if you want to see that, you're gonna have to become a member and check the cocktail guide. And so we have reached what were my top two choices. The last honorable mention, the runner-up, one of the best cocktails I think I've made, is the Himiko. The Trailblazers Breakfast is so, so good. I highly recommend going to that video and checking out how to make it. It tastes like having a cup of coffee and a bowl of cinnamon toast crunch milk. It is phenomenal. When my restaurant opened its new location, it even found a roundabout way to sneak its way onto their cocktail list. It is incredible and is easily one of the best drinks I've ever made. But I would be hard-pressed not to give the #1 spot to the first cocktail I made, the one that awoke this passion in me, the Josuiji Shinri. I'll be honest, I think I can do better. In fact, I know I can do better, and I have done better. In fact, this drink is marked on the cocktail guide as one that I plan to improve. But as it is, it's already really, really good. The only issue I have with it now is it's probably a little too sweet. And I was using store-bought blueberry syrup, which I could make on my own now. I bet if I made my own, it would be even better. And so I want to make my own. I want to tune this recipe. But the reason that that is currently the only one I have marked to improve is because it's the one that I think deserves it the most. That drink will always hold a very special and important place in my heart, because without it, none of this would have happened. So, I don't like to play favorites, but this next one's my favorite. This was the first drink I made for this video idea, and it was such a home run slam dunk that everything else afterwards has been kind of a disappointment. They're all still good. It was just, this one ended up being so incredible in my opinion, and such a hit with everyone who tried it, that it's kind of been downhill from there, which is always a great way to start. But this is the Josuiji Shinri, aka the Ronin. Now when I think of Shinri, I think of this big, strong man who is still very soft and sweet and easy to consume, and that's why I thought of an old-fashioned. Now, biased from where I live, I don't think it's really an old-fashioned unless you use bourbon, but we're gonna have to make an exception here. For those of you who don't know, bourbon is actually a subset of whiskey, specifically made from Kentucky.
But what we're going to be using today to give it a bit of that Zenokuni flair is Nika Coffee Grain Whiskey. This is an admittedly kind of expensive Japanese whiskey, but when you try this drink, you'll understand why it kind of had to be this one. I picked it up because a lot of reviews online said that this is pretty close to bourbon. It is a lot sweeter like bourbon. It's got about the same alcohol percentage as quite a few bourbons you'll find. Oh, it smells like a nice bourbon, but it has this really nice citrusy taste to it, which will come in handy in a minute. But to start our old fashioned, of course, we're going to start with 2 ounces of it. Now, if you're like me, ooh, you could drink that straight right now and be just as happy. But that's not a cocktail at that point, that's just straight whiskey. Now, the next step in an old fashioned is usually simple syrup. But if you remembered what we talked about during the Axel Serios, the orange simple syrup has made a comeback. I'm going to do 3/4 of an ounce of that. That is also partially why this whiskey is so perfect for this drink. It already has a very nice nose of orange and has just that citrusy taste. And we're going to do this now because I have this open. An old fashioned is typically garnished with an orange peel, but if you remember, we are going to garnish ours with the orange peels that we made the simple syrup with. That is why I held on to them and I didn't strain it. I'm going to run this along the edge here. So that's going to keep just about every sip nice and sweet. And it's going to help with something we're going to do in a minute if you want to get fancy enough with it. So that's going to go in there. You're going to lick your fingers because they are now covered in syrup. And finally, if you know your Shinri, you know he is mostly orange, but with a little hint of blue. This is just blueberry simple syrup. You can find this in most groceries. Now, you're not going to add a lot of this. We are going to add about 1/4 of an ounce. If you really want to taste the liquor more, then you can go ahead and do a full ounce of the orange and a dash of this. But for that nice color, we're going to put in the full 1/4 ounce. Now, the final steps. Usually for an old fashioned, you'd have a large ball or cube to go in there. I don't, so we're just going to put in just about 2-3 ice cubes. And to add to that blueberry, and also part of the garnish, going to be 2 of these blueberries. What I like to do is cut in half a few blueberries and put in a few whole ones, and then kind of top off a little container with this exact same whiskey so that they kind of soak it all in and the whiskey gets to have a bit of that blueberry in there too. If you try a little sip of this, I find it is also very good. It has a little bit of coffee taste to it, in my opinion. They actually have a single malt version of this same kind of brand that is supposed to apparently taste a little bit more like coffee. So if you want to try that and pour in a little bit of this instead of your blueberry simple syrup to make a little bit more of a coffee flavored vibe. Finally, it's not an old fashioned without bitters. We're just going to do a little dash of classic old-fashioned aromatic Angostura bitters, whatever you want to call it, they're all the same thing. Swirl that around. You've got yourself a Josuiji Shinri. That is perfectly good. That is a great place to stop. It is delicious, as is. You may be wondering, hey, why didn't you get that really cool fancy shot that you usually do? That's because we're not quite done. I like to do one last thing. We're gonna smoke it. If you don't want to, if you're not a smoke person or you don't have one of these, that's totally fine. This is absolutely delicious, as is. But we are going to give ourselves a little treat by smoking it with some ginger. And that right there is the true and finished Josuiji Shinri. Ooh. I definitely don't have favorites. I do honestly feel bad that, you know, for this kind of thing, you shouldn't have a favorite, but this is one of the best things I've ever had to drink in my life. I also shouldn't be going so fast. That's an old fashioned. This shit's 45%. Hey, remember the part where I said drink responsibly? Alright, my drunk ass is gonna have to deal with smoldering ginger root, so cut to next segment.
Thank you so much for watching this video. This past year has been a blast. I have never once regretted making this content through all the ups and downs. Every video that I made last year I am proud of, I had fun with, and this trip down memory lane has honestly really made me appreciate how much I've done and excited for how much more I want to do. And so I really hope that you will join me in the future for that. So please like, comment, subscribe, do all of the YouTube things, share this with everybody you know who needs a good drink right now. And please consider becoming a member so that you can get access to the cocktail guide along with all of the other perks. And one last time, correction, one more time, because this is far from the last. Thank you so much for watching.